Hey team, welcome back to the garage today. Today I have a power steering pump out of a 2013 Honda Odyssey. I'm going to go ahead and give it a rebuild. It's been leaking fluid for a little bit, and now on the bearing on the front, it's giving me a howl. You can buy a whole new pump through Honda for $800. You can buy new and rebuilt in the aftermarket for about $300, or you can buy all the parts and seals needed to rebuild this with the bearing and everything online for about $60. So that's the route we're going to go. And when I say $60, that's all Honda parts off of parts website. So first thing we're going to do is go ahead and remove this pulley. 18mm bolt there. Nut, holding that on. And then the pulley slides right off. So inside here we have our bearing. It's looking pretty gnarly in there actually. So we're going to go ahead and change that out. Okay, I've got my snap ring pliers. I'm going to go ahead and remove this snap ring inside here. Just be careful. Snap rings like to fly across the room, especially on me. Okay, there we go. That one fought me tooth and nail, but we got it. So now we're good. Now we're going to flip it over. I'm going to go ahead and take off these rear bolts here. Okay, I got my 12mm here. Okay, I've got those bolts out of there, so now we should be able to split the cover here. Actually, I'm going to remove that real quick. So right here, there's a small nut. We're going to want to back that off as well. I believe that is a 19. There we go. Came right out, no problems. So be careful. There's a spring in here. You want to make sure you collect that and don't lose it anywhere. And that's all that's in there other than the spring and some fluid. And now we've got the spring out of there with the cap. We're just going to carefully work the back off of this pump. So next we're going to back this out right here with an Allen. Looks like a 10mm Allen. Yep. So we're going to drop that in there and see if we can back her out. Okay, so I had to go off camera to break this loose. Now I got it free. So pay attention to when you disassemble all of this right here, because you got to make sure you put it all back together correctly. And you don't want to confuse it with the other parts that you just took out. So we have a valve body there. And then we have a spring, so we want to make sure all those parts stay together for when we go to put them back in. Now that we have that out, we should be able to get the rest of our assembly out of here. There we go. Yeah, it just slides out, but you have to get that out first. Again, make sure you remember how it all went. So now that we have that out of there, what we can do is get the shaft out. Okay, I'm back. So now I've got my housing. I was able to get the bearing out. I've got the bearing on the shaft here. All I did was put this up on 2 pieces of wood here to support it with a gap in between. Held it with my hand. Took a dead blow. Nothing metal. You know, just a run-of-the-mill dead blow. Gave it a couple whacks. Everything came right out. So we're good to go there. The next thing we're going to do is get this bearing off the shaft. Probably do it in the same method. Notice on the bearing you have a plastic shield on this side, the red one, and a stainless shield on that side, so keep that in mind for when you go to put this back in. Okay, I got my bearing off the shaft now. That was actually pretty simple. All I did was set it up in my vise like that, a couple good whacks on top with my dead blow supporting the bearing, and it came right off. It was real simple. Alright, so now I went and kind of cleaned up my workspace a little bit here and cleaned off the housing. What I want to start doing is removing the old O-rings and seals that I'm going to replace. So inside this housing is a large one. I'm going to pick that out. And then on the front side where the bearing goes, there's a seal inside of there as well. So we're going to go ahead and pick that one out. Alright, so I got the seal out. I was able to just get in there with a set of needle nose pliers and pop it out. So, okay, so the spring side of the seal will go towards the inside. I had a feeling that was the case, but just needed to double check and make sure. We're going to go ahead, clean everything out of there. Okay, so we've got all the seals out of this unit. I'm just going to set it off to the side and then move on to this unit here. So as I clean it off and look, I've got a large seal all the way around here. I'll grab it with my pick. So we're gonna remove that one, which is pretty bad shape actually. So I'm glad we're replacing that. There's 2 here. One came off as soon as I pulled it apart. The other one I'm going to pop off here and place over there. Okay, so I don't see any more O-rings in there, so right now I've got 1, 2, 3, and over there, so I'll go ahead and take that off, as there should be one under there that I need to replace. That's a 10 millimeter. There we go. Careful, this is plastic. And in this case, it's 10-year-old plastic. Alright, so I've got an O-ring up there that we're going to replace. So I've got the parts here that I ordered online. Make sure you got everything out of there. You do. What I did is I went ahead and I printed off the diagram from the Honda site. They have that exploded diagram. And what I did is I took the numbers that were on here and I labeled all my O-rings. So now I know where each one goes. So I'm just going to separate everything here and start putting them back together. Okay, so seal 21 or O-ring 21 is going to go back on this piece, even though it was stuck inside this housing here. You have to stretch it a little bit to fit over there. And then inside here, there's another O-ring that you're going to have to pick out of there as well. And that's number 18. So we'll get that out of there and put number 18 in there. And that one just kind of drops in there for the most part. Just be careful not to roll it over. Okay. So in the diagram, number 19 is going to go on this plug that has the Allen key. And number 20 in the diagram is going to go on this plug here that is hex head shaped. You can see that's hex head shaped. It's got a seal on there, so we're gonna pick that off. The new O-ring on there as well. So, all right, so I've got all my O-rings depleted. I've got one O-ring left that is going to go on the power steering hose when I reconnect it. So I'm just going to clean up my workspace here and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my new seal here for the bearing housing. I'm going to go press this in. I'll be right back. I'm not showing those steps because if you're attempting to do something like this, you know how to press the seal in, you know how to press a bearing onto a shaft. And I don't want to get into that in this video for you. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So I've got the shaft in the housing with the bearing and the seal in there. So again, you should already know how to press all those things on. I'm not going to make that part of this video, but to get the seal in, for those who are going to do it, a 17mm socket sizes perfectly with the seal. To get the bearing on the shaft, a 22mm deep well socket. These are all deep well sockets. Works perfectly to get that bearing on the shaft and push on the inner race. Remember, you always want to push on the inner race when you're pressing a bearing onto a shaft. And then to get the bearing inside the housing, a 27mm drops right in there and gets that in there, pushes on the outer race with no problems, no issues. So now we're going to start reassembly of the unit. Okay, so we're ready to reassemble the power steering pump here. I'm going to go show you an alternate method. You may have seen other videos where they tell you if you take the pump apart and the vanes come out and all the rotors come out, that you're not going to be able to get it back together and get it working again. That's not true. It's just going to take a little time and you're just going to have to be patient. But follow this video and I'll show you how you can get your pump back together. Just going to clean a little bit of garbage out of there. Okay, so your first step that you want to do is get this back plate back into the pump. So we got to make sure we get it aligned correctly. So just go ahead, we're going to slide it on the shaft. And we want this teardrop shape right there to be approximately lined up right there with this bolt. Then our next step that we're going to do is we're going to take this ring here and we're going to put it in. Now we got to make sure that we have this oriented correctly. You'll see there's two holes in there. You want it so the hole on the right that's offset is up higher out towards you, because you want that to align with this hole here. So we're going to take that and very carefully slide that in. Now next, we're going to take this pin. There's two pins that you should have found. I'm going to take the skinnier, longer one. We're going to slide it in right here. And now what we're going to do is just lightly apply pressure. You might have to slide it around a bit because that pin is going to go into that back plate that you just put in. And you can see now they're locked together. Okay, so now we've got that in there. We're going to take this unit here. Now, a couple things you need to look at on this unit. You have to make sure this relief is facing you. You don't want to put it in like that. You want to put it in just like that. And what you want to also do is make sure over here there's a little rubber piece and a little white plastic piece. You can actually see it pretty well. You want to make sure both of those are in this notch over here. And you're going to slide this in so it aligns with that notch right there. So this notch and that notch need to align together. Make sure you hold your finger here on the left side and keep that plastic piece in place as you slide that in. Now you're going to take your other dowel pin, the shorter, fatter one, bigger diameter, and you're going to align these two notches here and slide that pin in place. It might take a little finesse, a little patience. I apologize, I'm blocking the camera while I do it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get it in there. It's not going to be easy. Okay, I got it started. So now I'm just going to push it in with my finger. So at this point, everything should look like that. You've got the smaller dowel up here. It's locked into the back plate. You got the larger dowel here. You've got the small black piece of rubber and the small white piece of plastic in this notch over here. So then the next thing I would recommend to do is to lock all this in place. And here's how you're going to do that. You're going to take this plug, this was the 19 millimeter, and the spring, drop the spring in there, and it's going to align with the hole right there. So you actually just saw the spring drop in right there. And we're going to take this, make sure the spring goes inside that plug, and put it in just like so. Right now I'm just going to do it finger tight, and we'll go back later and tighten it up. Okay, so we've got that part in. So now we're going to take our inner vane assembly, and it's going to have all these little metal tabs that want to fall out on you. You got to do your best you can to keep those from falling out. If they do, you can put them back in. Just make sure the gold end is out. So if you look at these vanes, you can see right there, it's like a goldish end. If you take one that's fallen out, you'll see it's got a silver side, it's got a gold side out. So we're going to go ahead and put that in there. If they fall out, they fall out. That's okay. Do your best to keep them in there as you align this on the spline. So I've got about 3 of them that have fallen out. It's fine. Gold side out as I load these back in. Careful, they're slippery. They're going to jump on you. Gold side out. We'll go ahead and load those back in. Okay, at this point, I've got all my rotors in, all my vanes in, everything's aligned the way it needs to be. So now we're going to go put our back cover on. So now we're going to take our back cover. You can see it's got 2 holes in it. We want this smaller one right here, right there. And we're going to align it with this pin right here. So slide it on your shaft until it aligns. And you know you got it right because all your bolt holes are going to align in the back cover. So now we can go ahead, you can load all your bolts in. Okay, so now I got the back cover held in place. We're going to load our valve in. First thing we want to do is put our spring in. First thing you want to do is put your spring in. Then we're going to take our valve. Now the valve needs to go in with this taper end first. It also has a couple holes down here near the collar where it's only got one hole near the upper collar. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. That end has to go in first. Okay, it's in. Now we're going to take our plug with the Allen head. That's a 10 millimeter Allen. We're going to put it in. Just like that. So, pretty much you're done. All you have to do now is just put in the other 3 bolts and tighten everything up. Okay, as you can see, we've got the pump all put back together now. All our bolts are on in the back, got the pulley back on the front, and it's all set to go back in the car. So I'm going to hit this with a little bit of brake clean and go put it in. If you got any questions or concerns, hit me up in the comments and I'll answer as soon as I can. Thanks.